Hello friends, this is Uttam Baruah presenting before you A Thing of Beauty by John Keats. This is just an overview suitable for undergraduate level students. This poem is written by John Keats, the shortest lived English romantic poet who was born in the year 1795 and died in 1821. To his credit, there are so many beautiful poems, for example, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode to Autumn, Ode to a Nightingale, La Belle Dame Sans Mercy, Hyperion, Endymion, Lamia, and so on. The present poem, A Thing of Beauty, is an excerpt from Endymion, a poetic romance, which was published in the year 1818, and it is based on a Greek legend about a lover. The reading of the poem, A Thing of Beauty, goes like, if we look at the background of the poem, we find there was a handsome young shepherd and poet named Endymion who lived on Mount Latmos. Very often in his dreams he saw Cynthia, the moon goddess, and fell in love with her. He resolved to seek her out wherever and whenever possible. He set out through forest and down under the ocean. Since this poem is consisted of only one stanza, for critical interpretation we will have to go line by line. The very first line of this poem goes like, A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. This line talks about an eternal memory that never disappears. Whenever we see a beautiful object, whenever we experience a beautiful moment, it remains with us forever. The more we think about it, the more beautiful it becomes. Its impact is so long that it never fades away from our heart's canvas. It is capable of giving us solace after we get depressed and frustrated from the daily problems. It always provides us sound sleep, health, and happiness. The next line of the poem goes like, Therefore on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dirt of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Nature is replete with all the resources human beings need in their lives. It gives us physical comfort and mental strength. If this harsh world hurts us with its thorny ways, we need to return to nature, and natural bounties bind us tight to the world. In the modern world, meeting inhuman behavior and thereby experiencing unwanted situations is very obvious. But beauty with its elements helps us energize our soul and enlighten our dark spirits which have been darkened by lack of humanity. The third line of the poem goes like, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. And such are daffodils with the green vault they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid-forest brake, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. This line only catalogues certain specimens of beauty, such as the sun, the moon, trees giving shade to animals, the daffodils, crystal clear fountains, ferns with wild flowers like masquerades, and then what next? The fourth line or the final line of the stanza goes like, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heaven's brink. This line gives us the message of the poem. It talks about the heroic death of the mighty warrior, a soldier who has sacrificed his life for the betterment of humanity, for the safety and security of his own country or nation. His death is always celebrated by the next generations. Stories about the heroic figures become legendary tales with the passing of time. In people's eyes, it becomes a heavenly nectar, as if it is a gift from God. Thus, beauty with its elements and distinctive qualities give us a reason to live on this earth and be happy. Here we come to the end of the interpretation of all the lines of the poem. Now we will directly go to the literary devices that have been used in the course of the poem. A poem is capable of engaging our responsiveness since it is created out of different poetic devices encompassing structural, grammatical, rhythmic, metrical, verbal, and visual elements. Use of different devices makes the poem gripping. The very first literary or poetic device that has been used in the poem is heroic couplet. Heroic couplet is a pair of rhymed lines with iambic pentameter, and we can see heroic couplet from the very beginning of the poem till the end. Iambic pentameter. It is a beat or foot that uses 10 syllables in each line, and in it one unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable. Next is alliteration. Alliteration refers to the use of consonant sound at the start of two consonant words which are close in series, which are consecutive in series. In the course of the poem, we find so many examples of alliteration. For example, simple sheep, cooling covert, and so on. Next is metaphor. Metaphor shows the similarity between two objects. It shows the qualitative comparison between two different things. For example, immortal drink is a very beautiful term that has been used in the course of the poem only to refer to all the beautiful things in the lap of nature and the stories or legendary tales about the mighty dead. Next is imagery. Imagery is capable of giving a clear picture in our mind. It can create a picture which is manifest in the nature outside. Last but not the least is antithesis, and antithesis posits two opposite words opposite in their meaning. For example, we can cite trees old and young. Trees old and young. Here these two words old and young, they are not referring to different types of trees, but it encompasses the whole family of trees. So these are certain literary devices that have been used by the poet to give the poem a good impression. Here we come to the end of our discussion, and before wrapping up, we will try to look at what we have learned from this discussion. We talked about the background of A Thing of Beauty, the poem, literal and metaphorical interpretation of all the lines, and literary devices that have been used in the poem. So these are certain sources that we have taken help from. We express our gratitude to all these sources and the creators behind. So thus we come to the conclusion of our discussion. Thank you for watching our video.